Hey everybody, this is Susan Gibson, and I've had the most compelling conversation with Boston on the Boston Chris podcast show extravaganza. He made me give up secrets that I've been carrying my whole life. So if you want to know what those secrets are, tune in.
It's time to jam. It's time to mingle. It's time to see what everyone's drinking. It's time to jam. It's time to mingle. It's time to see what everyone's drinking. Until we all lose connection.
Hey, this is Mark Irwin. Thanks for tuning in to the Boston Chris Show.
Guys, it's Boston Chris. We are here with the 56th episode of the Boston Chris podcast. And I have to let y'all know we're at a different location. You're probably all like, wait, this is not like the studio. You're right, it's not. We're at the Bowery stage here in beautiful Winnsboro, Texas. Thanks to the Winnsboro Culture of the Arts for letting us come out here and chat with Susan Gibson today.
So this isn't where you do all your podcasts?
No.
Oh gosh,
This is the
thanks
first-
for meeting me here.
Yeah, this is a first. In a lot of ways, we have new equipment. We're in a new location.
Yeah.
And we're going to do more of these here, I hope.
Good, I
'Cause
hope
it's
so
such a
too.
cool venue.
It is.
Yeah.
It's very homey.
Yeah, I agree. And this is part of like a movie set or a theater
Yeah,
set
this
they
is
have.
great.
And Kevin was like, let's just leave it up there
That's
until
awesome.
they interview. This won't be up here when you play.
I would feel even more at home if there was a pile of laundry right there for me
Yeah.
to,
Or,
you know.
like a faux bear rug or something. or we could just put like a husband down there.
Yeah.
I don't know where that came from. Guys, we have Susan Gibson on the show today, multiple-time award-winning songwriter, troubadour, road warrior, storyteller. So many words describe who you are, and I'm so excited to have you here today.
Thank you, Boston.
But you decided you would play a couple of songs for us, and the first one is called Wildflowers in the Weeds.
Yes.
And tell us a little bit about this song.
So, Wildflowers in the Weeds is a song that I wrote. I got sober in 2010.
Yeah, congrats.
And, well, thank you.
Yeah.
And, that was not an easy thing to do. But I had a friend that was trying to get sober and just struggling and struggling. And I thought, man, it's way easier to get sober than it is to watch someone try and get sober.
Yeah.
And so that was a song I wrote kind of for both of us. It's just a prayer almost, And for me, I don't know how it comes across to other people, but it's talking about my mom always used to say that weeds were just flowers that just volunteered, and so there was something about the idea of that's what wildflowers are too. It's just weeds, but they're beautiful.
Yeah.
And in the process of getting sober, you could see these things that were like I didn't invite them there, but there they are, and they're kind of beautiful too.
That change in perspective is powerful, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
When you've lived and experienced something and now you see somebody else dealing with it.
Yeah.
And you're just like, wow, that was me.
Yeah.
So
Oh, yeah.
does that mean you know how to help that person now because you know what helped you?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the theory.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm in recovery.
Of course.
Right?
Yeah.
And so that is the whole premise of that is, I would say it's crazy. Alcoholism is the one disease where your solution is to go find other people with your disease
Yeah.
and get real about
And
it.
it's legal too.
And yeah,
Yeah.
And it's really what I learned is I hate for this to be like a after school special
No,
about
this is
alcoholism,
great.
but it's like, oh yeah, the alcohol wasn't the problem. The alcohol is what I used to fix my problems.
That's right.
And so
It's your escape, your coping mechanism.
totally.
Yeah.
Once you aren't drinking anymore, then everything's really real.
Of course.
And so then, that's when sometimes with a lot of people, that's when the real trouble starts. they've been medicating other conditions for so long with
Yeah.
alcohol.
Did you feel like there was more of an edge in your art because of that?
Because
leaving
of
that
drinking?
behind? Well, not the lack of drinking. Going from
interesting.
having it and then going away from it.
No. No. One thing I will say is, here's how I would put it, is that getting sober softens your hard places
Yeah.
and toughens the places where you think, I'm too fragile, I can't do
Isn't
that.
that weird?
Yeah.
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 That's
It's
incredible.
really... so as far as edge, I don't know that I've ever had any edge.
Yeah.
I'm not a very
I mean,
edgy
like
person.
rawness, right? Because it could
Oh,
be a lot more raw when you're feeling it more, right?
Yes, except for I will say I think the fallacy of that we all buy into is, and because it's true, your inhibitions are down with drugs and alcohol.
That's right.
And so I remember one thing, I used to write a lot more with less of a critical eye because every idea seemed brilliant when
That's
you're
right.
drunk. When you're wasted,
Was the content less vulnerable
everything-
too? Or felt less vulnerable because you were kind of,
It's hard to say,
Yeah.
Boston. It's hard to say if the content was really different or the critique was just more focused.
That's right.
It's hard to know what was different. When I've talked with my songwriting friend, Drew Kennedy, I don't know if you know
I
Drew
love
Kennedy.
Drew Kennedy.
I do too.
Oh my gosh.
He is,
Him
I
and
think of him,
and Josh together. Oh,
they're so good.
golly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're so good. And we were talking one time, and he said, because I have gone through these periods of not writing very much, and he'll say, Susan, I think that maybe you're not writing so much, but maybe it's just you're not chasing every rabbit, that crosses your path and goes into the weeds, and you're like,
Yeah.
I don't need to chase that rabbit,
Of
you know.
course.
So, as far as edge goes, I don't know. I don't know that I'd be the one to be able to tell you that. Maybe
Yeah. That's
somebody-
probably from outside.
Yeah,
An outside perspective.
might be.
Yeah, I feel
Yeah.
you. Man, we're getting deep already. We haven't even asked the icebreaker question.
Yeah.
Yet. But
the ice was broken the minute we walked in the door and
It's true.
started setting
We're
up.
old friends now. I just met Susan today. But guys, the first song we're playing today is called Wildflowers in the Weeds. Y'all check it out.
Terry thinks she is cursed, or the fruit of unlucky genetics, 'cause there are laws in the universe that govern the earthly and etheric. All she needs is one clean break in her heart or her bad habits to really hunger for something before she reaches out to grab it. As above, so below, Terry reaps what she sows. 40 seasons since she's planted any seeds. In between winter and spring hides the secret of every living thing, and she's looking for the wildflowers in the weeds. It's the law of polarity. Every action has an inverse reaction. Terry believes in posterity, not the law of attraction. So she keeps them to herself, all her dreams and her desires of love and luck and health, afraid of the action faith requires. In her backward little town, east is west and up is down. Gravity, it is the only constant creed. Prayers move slower than the speed of sound, fall from her lips straight to the ground, where they germinate like wildflowers in the weeds. She looks at the classifieds, she looks at the internet. If only changing was as easy as changing the channel on her TV set. She looks at her horoscope. She looks at the almanac. She looks at the Bible and the big book, looking for a needle in a haystack. And Terry thinks she is Terry's putting down some roots. She's digging down below the surface, solving for the absolutes. She goes to work with a purpose. And Terry finds a piece of land. Quarter acre is more than she needs to feel the soil in her hands. She waters the wildflowers and the weeds.
All right, so we are back once again, episode 56 with my old buddy, Susan Gibson.
Yeah, man.
And so now we get to
How
ask
you been since the first time I met you?
not too bad. It's wet outside.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, what my wife would call moist. Yeah. So, icebreaker question after the deep thoughts of the first song. What are your favorite drinks right now?
My favorite drinks right now, I drink a lot of water.
Mm-hmm.
I love unsweet iced tea. I'm a coffee guzzler.
Mm-hmm.
I do love a good Topo Chico.
Okay. Surprising talking about Drew and Josh.
When I'm, yeah. I'm not just the president. I'm also a member. I like, I don't drink anymore. So, I'm not a big soda drinker, but when I do, it's usually Diet Dr. Pepper.
Yeah.
I do get a Diet Dr. Pepper. I love the Zero.
Mm-hmm.
And I've just learned today that there are flavors of Dr. Pepper that I had no idea existed.
And the non-Dr. Pepper guy told me about
And I learned it from the non-Dr. Pepper
That's
guy.
right. I'm from the north, right? And so everything is flipped up there.
Yeah.
So down here, you go to the grocery store and it's all Dr. Pepper, and there's no ginger ale. Because they don't drink it here that much. Up north, it's flipped. There's like one little tiny row of Dr. Pepper, and the rest is ginger ale.
Where are you from?
Massachusetts. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's where Boston comes
Yeah.
from, huh? Okay. How long have you been down here?
This is my 24th year in Texas.
What made you move down here?
My ex-wife.
Okay.
Yeah.
She made you move down here?
No, it was my decision, believe it
Okay.
or not. Yeah, we would come down here every other year. We were living up there. I met her in Virginia.
Oh, you were married at the time?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm from Massachusetts, and she was from Texas, and we met in Virginia.
Okay.
But yeah, long
that could
story.
be considered a midpoint.
Yeah, I guess so. I don't know how it worked, but
Yeah.
it did for a while. But yeah, I just decided. Really, the impetus was my dad was a retired veteran, and he wasn't able to retire up there because of how bad the cost of living was.
Oh, yeah.
So he was a disabled veteran and still working 70 hours a week.
Oh, wow.
And I didn't think he had really that many years left. So I was like, you know what? He'd probably enjoy life a lot better down here.
Yeah.
And sure enough, he did.
That's great.
It was a good plan.
Yeah.
Speaking of where you're from, you are originally from up north as well, Minnesota, right?
Minnesota, yeah.
Born in Minnesota.
Mm-hmm.
And
Born in Fridley, Minnesota.
Yeah.
Which is a suburb of St. Paul, and I think we moved before I was a year old. So
right.
I didn't really live up there for very long.
So where did you move to? Was it to Texas?
We moved from Minnesota. We went to Illinois and then Nebraska.
Huh.
And then we landed in Burleson, Texas, which is a suburb of Fort Worth.
Right.
And then Amarillo, Texas, which is where I finished high school and did a couple years of college. And then I did some college up in Montana and then moved back to Amarillo. And that's where I started playing music, like as a job. And then I was in a band called the Groobees. And when the Groobees disbanded, I moved down to Wimberley and that was in 2003.
And that's where you're at now. Yeah. So
So my dad worked for Burlington Northern Railroad, so all those moves were
I was going to say, yeah, they were
his
probably
job
getting
transferred. and
I
stuff.
love looking at people's kind of their genesis story, right? Like, and yours is so apropos because you're a road warrior, You travel all the time, and obviously it's your storytelling and all that drives that. But
Yeah, thank you.
How much of that was kind of born from being that way when you were a kid?
Oh, I'd
Do you
say
think?
96% of
Yeah.
it. Because I think about this a lot when I'm, some of my best times in my life. I've had a blessed, fortunate, touched life
Yeah.
of having good parents who prioritized raising kids, and my dad was just a solid guy, and my mom was a room mother, and just good. I was just lucky. And some of the best times that I remember were car trips with my folks.
Yeah.
And we would go from wherever we lived at the time up to Missoula, Montana, where my dad was from.
Okay.
And we have a place up there, and that's where our summer vacation would happen. So no matter where we lived, we'd never lived in
And of course,
Montana,
summer in
though.
Montana is like winter in Texas.
It's so beautiful, yeah. But we never lived there.
Yeah.
And so I didn't live there until was going to college up
Yeah.
there. But we would go there every summer, so we'd have these long road trips to get from wherever we were. And there is an element of that, like a romantic
Yeah.
element of that, of having the security of having dad doing the driving and mom making the snacks
Yep.
and saying, hey kids, we're playing the license plate game. There's something about that has found its
I
way.
agree. And I feel like life experiences kind of prepare you for what's next,
Yeah.
so to speak.
No
right?
doubt.
Like for me, I've been a professional wrestler. I've been a karaoke
No,
host. Yeah.
I was gonna say no shit.
Yeah.
But can you
No,
say
you
that?
can say that, yeah.
Okay,
You
no
say
shit.
whatever you want, yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, and that led me. I spent 4 years streaming video games online, and it was that professional wrestling persona that made me money doing that.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I
you
feel
did
like
that for your living?
For
You did it
streaming,
online?
yeah, for 4 years. Yeah,
Wow.
I was making a couple $1,000s a month doing that
Wow.
for a while until COVID, and then disposable money kind of dried up.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I just again I feel like every life experience that kind of stops in your doorway is preparing you for something that you don't even know you're
So true.
gonna do someday.
Did you hear that, Jen? She's not paying attention.
Yeah,
Okay. Sorry.
she'll have to watch it back.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I had a period of time, like from 3rd to 6th grade, that I was a huge wrestling fan.
Okay.
And Texas, the Von Erich family. There's a movie about him now. But when I was in the 6th grade, we did my 6th grade birthday party at the Texas Walk of Champions, where I had me and about 4 of my friends.
Nice.
And we got to see the great Kabuki wrestle.
Nice.
And the Von Erichs put the claw
See, I
on.
grew up on them, and
You
I
did?
wasn't from Texas.
Oh, yeah.
But in Massachusetts, Saturday morning was World Class
Yeah,
Championship
totally.
Wrestling.
Yeah.
Every Saturday morning.
Yep.
And my dad only had weekends off. So that was our time together, like Saturday morning.
Yep.
And it was the one day I could sleep in and I didn't,
Yeah, yeah.
right? Because
Yeah.
I wanted to hang out with my dad. And that
Yeah.
was my only chance to do that. So yeah, Iceman Parsons and
Yeah.
Gentleman Chris Adams and all of those guys from
Yes.
Texas. Like they were, bigger
Gentleman
than life.
Chris Adams was also the British Bulldog, right? Was
No.
he? That was a different guy.
Different guys. Yeah.
Gentleman Chris Adams. Okay, so when we lived in Burleson, there was a circuit that they came to the high school.
Right.
And Gentleman Chris Adams came to Burleson, Texas to wrestle, and I had the program, and I was going to get his signature. So I ran up to the thing, and I got his signature on my program, and then I was running back to our seats, and there was some Skittles on the floor or something, and I just went,
Oh my
and
God.
just took out these folding chairs, and I was like on the floor going, I got it, I
Guys,
got it.
We haven't even asked her about her embarrassing moments yet. She's already telling us about them.
Oh, I wasn't embarrassed about
That's
that.
great stuff. Let's get back to the parental growing
Okay.
up. What are some lessons you learned from your folks that you
Oh,
still apply
jeez.
today?
Oh, car maintenance. My dad, when everything was going to shit and I couldn't seem to keep it together at all, I was still getting regular oil changes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I was, I wasn't probably brushing my teeth and combing my hair, but I was still getting regular oil changes. So that is something. My dad was a real belt and suspenders kind of guy,
yeah.
if you know what I mean by
Yeah,
that.
of course.
And that if you stuck your head in our van, you would see that I feel prepared for any contingency.
Yeah.
And I think that's my dad. He was a talk to anybody kind of guy.
Yeah, that was my dad too.
And then
Gabaholic.
Yeah. But then when at home he was kind of quiet.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think he had this kind of interesting.
It's called ambiverted.
Yeah. And I feel that too.
I do too.
I love this and I love that. But when I'm, Jen and I drove here. She and I have been friends since the late 1900s, and we have long silences sometimes. And that's comfortable. I can do that with people that I'm comfortable with. From my mom, oh my gosh. Well, she was the music in our family, and she made everything fun.
Yeah.
She was an elementary school teacher, and so she could manipulate us and get us to do anything by just couching it in the form of a game.
That's smart.
And so we would play cards for jobs, and we'd play like 31 or some kind of game that goes really fast, and then if you lost, you had to put your name by a chore, and if you won, you didn't have to.
Golly, where was your mom when I was
Yeah,
raising kids?
she was great.
That's smart.
Yeah, she was really good. She could just make anything fun.
Yeah.
And I think part of my tendency to be sentimentally attached to things might come from my mom.
Yeah.
That in a lot when your life is moving all the time, and your stuff is your home.
Yeah.
Then sometimes you get really, really super attached to stuff.
I love that because, like in your music, there's a lot of emotion in your storytelling, but it's not always negative emotions.
Oh, I hope not. Yeah.
There's a lot of joy in your lyrics and your
Oh,
melodies.
I hope so.
And I think that probably comes from your mom then, huh?
Yeah, she was a pretty joyful person. She was really funny, and I think I had two parents that had good senses of humor in different ways. But yeah, she was. Definitely, I would say she is a silver lining person. And maybe that was a product of raising kids where you are breaking the news that, hey, I know you've just made friends here, but we're moving again, Like she could spin anything. Yeah. And by the time
optimist.
at the end of the conversation, you're like, okay, I guess it's going to be awesome, you know? So.
Well, there was no other choice, right?
Yeah.
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 Make the best of it.
Make the best of it.
Great stuff. So music, your mom was the impetus for that. So what was what's the first thing you remember music related?
Well, I remember sitting on the piano bench next to my mom, and I was her page turner. Okay. She played the piano, and she was a piano teacher casually.
So just a natural teacher.
She was a natural teacher. Yeah, that totally. That was the thread that ran through everything she did.
Yeah.
Was a teacher. And so she played the piano in the home. She loved to harmonize. And so when we'd have these epic road trips, it'd be July 12th, and we'd be singing Christmas carols
songs,
because everybody knows the words, and we could harmonize to it, or Beach Boys songs or whatever. So that was all my mom. I think she is the one that encouraged, I was in choir my whole life, church choir, school choir. I started playing the violin in like the 5th grade or whenever they introduced that in school, and she was really supportive of that. And we'd be having to wash dishes, and at our cabin we don't have running water, and so you haul the water in a bucket, heat it on the stove.
This was in Montana, right?
In Montana, yeah. And so we'd be washing dishes, and we'd play Name That Tune. I can name that tune in 6 notes.
6 notes.
And so she put it in our life, And then, playing as a person that wasn't making any money making music, she supported that. And if she had, and I think my dad was more vocal about like, you know, you're not going to have any job security if you don't finish school and find a career.
The realist.
The realist.
Yeah.
But if my mom had any of that fear, like, she didn't tell me about it,
Yeah.
you know.
No, because she was the optimist.
She was the optimist.
You have to
yeah.
have that balance in
Yeah.
a relationship.
Yeah.
It makes perfect sense.
Yeah, totally.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. So, when did the plan become music for you?
The plan,
Because you went to college, right?
I went to college, forestry. Yeah. And I would say the plan became music after I had a really great big success early on where it felt like, well, this is working pretty good.
It's pretty simple,
you know?
right?
Yeah. Making music is easy and fun all the time. Yeah, this was never the plan. This I even think this conversation right now has come out of just saying, okay, yeah, I'll do it, to 100 things, you know, and it's been a
It's
fun
funny
thing
you
to
say
follow.
that because so many people say, well, how did you get that person to interview with you? And I asked. That's all I did was ask.
Yeah.
And then all you did was say yes.
Yeah, that's right.
And that's how the world works.
Yeah,
Right?
that's right.
I love that though, like the plan's not music until the big hit.
Yeah.
And then it's like, yeah, I could do this.
But the big hit came incredibly early.
Yeah,
you know,
incredibly
I mean,
so,
so it was. But I still say this. I still say, man, you know, if someone says, "Hey, we're doing this music series, but we're booked up for 2025. Could you come in, you know, the fall of 2026?" And I'll think, I'm probably gonna have a paper route by then. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know that I'm gonna be playing music. Like, it doesn't feel like I can plan that far ahead.
Right.
With it, even though probably that's what I'm going to be doing.
Well, somebody asked me, well, who is Susan Gibson? Because I've been, you know, bragging a little bit that I get to talk to you.
That's sweet.
And I was like, well, she wrote, you know, Wide Open Spaces. And they were like, oh, I love that song. I was like, well, that's what makes her know. But that's not what makes her cool.
Oh, that's sweet.
Right?
Thank you for
So
that.
today is what makes you cool.
Yeah.
I want to tell people what makes you cool. I'm not sure I'll ask you a question about that song, to be honest.
But we don't have to talk about it.
Yeah. But yeah, I love the fact that you are cool, and it didn't, like, the hit never, like, defined who you are as an artist. At least I don't think so, right?
Yeah. I don't think so either. But I'll tell you, it has had, you know, it was a huge thing. And it was especially huge in the fact that I hadn't been writing for years and years to justify it.
Yeah.
Right? And so a lot of times there has been this feeling of, that imposter syndrome, like, oh, that was just a lottery ticket.
Fluke.
Yeah, what a fluke.
That's yourself beating
Yeah.
yourself up. Yeah.
But I don't think that's what defines me. I don't think anybody that has come to more than 3 shows thinks that that's what defines me.
I mean, all we have to do is open the catalog and see who you are.
Well,
And that's what I mean by what makes you cool.
Thank you.
Because what makes you cool is the stories.
Yeah.
And
thanks.
that hit is only one story.
That's right. That's
know what I
right.
mean?
But I will say that hit has generated some pretty good stories. Like
Damn
the
straight.
places I've gotten to
Yeah,
go
yeah.
and do because of the one song is really cool. But again, I don't think it's my best. I don't think it's not my favorite.
Well,
I
I
love
think
it.
the way I would look at it is the song got you to where you are,
Mm-hmm.
but other things kept you where you are.
That's a good way to look at it.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
So you got there because of the song, but
Yeah.
you know the door opened because of that. But
Yeah.
the door stayed open
Oh,
because
yeah,
you're pretty
thanks.
damn cool.
Thank you.
So forestry into music, I was
Yeah.
like, wow, because a lot of times, like, oh, for example, Bree Bagwell is a good example of somebody who went to school for something that has nothing to do with music, but it helped her with her music, and that's marketing and business.
Yeah.
Forestry is not exactly going to help you with music in any
I don't know,
way, right?
Boston. My first song was Wildflowers in the Weeds, and my second song was Evergreen.
Okay, fair point.
So I'm completely qualified to write songs about trees, you know?
Fair point. Fair point. You could probably make rhymes out of words we've never heard.
I'll tell you, I don't know that forestry, that's it was kind of a lesson in me examining the fact that I couldn't change my mind.
Yeah.
Because I said I wanted to be a forest ranger when I was about 6th grade. It was right at the end of my wrestling career fandom. And we had gone to Glacier Park, and I loved being in Glacier. We went hiking in Glacier Park, which is right 90 miles or 40 miles from our cabin. And I just thought, yeah, this is what I want to do. I want to live here, and I want to work here, and I want to know what that is, and I want to, well, forestry as a vein of study and as a career is agriculture. It's like how to have healthy forests and be able to predict how many board feet of timber that 20-year-old stand of yellow pine is going to make and all this stuff. That's not what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
But I could not change my mind. Like, I probably should have switched to environmental studies or anything. I loved my lab classes in college, and I really sucked at the other classes.
Looking back at it, would you change it?
No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't change. No, I wouldn't change anything. I wouldn't change anything. I do believe that everything is just as it's supposed to be. But would I encourage myself to be more flexible? Yeah.
Yeah.
And not get so locked into an idea of this is what's going to happen.
Yeah.
To where when it's not happening, go ahead and change tracks. Go ahead and turn around.
We talked about life experiences
Yeah.
earlier and how they kind of prepare you for the next step. How did that prepare you for what ended up being for you?
The forestry.
Yeah.
I hate to say we don't have to talk about that song and then I bring it up into every conversation, but going to forestry school is when I wrote that song.
Okay.
So that song is autobiographical in the fact that I was leaving my folks in Amarillo and going up to Missoula, Montana, and I can tell you line by line in that song of how it's
Where you wrote
autobiographical. Yeah, or just how I thought it was so specific to my own life. I did not really even have a capacity to think that anyone else would resonate with it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because she traveled this road as a child. Well, that's us going back and forth from wherever to Montana.
Incredible.
I mean, and now she won't be coming back with the rest. That's because my parents took me up there for a summer and then they drove home and I went to school.
Yeah.
And so like that, going to school for something that I was not interested in or didn't think or thought I was interested in, but I wasn't, or whatever, got me the song that then said, hey, why don't you think about music? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so the success of that experience didn't have anything to do with that experience,
It's
except for
incredible.
it just gave me this little diamond.
Yeah.
To
Let me
carry.
ask you this. So the song we're referring to is obviously Wide Open Spaces.
Yeah.
And this is a perspective-based song. You're using she, her.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Instead of I.
Yeah.
Why?
I don't know. Because you know what? And somebody pointed this out to me the other day. And that song, I wrote that song in 1992. And this is the first time I ever talked about it, thought about it.
Yeah.
Was, who doesn't know what I'm talking about? And then the second verse says, a young girl's dream. It introduces this third vague character.
Right. It's not
right?
you. It's somebody.
Yeah. I don't know why I did that. I didn't know shit about writing songs when I wrote that song. You know what I mean?
It works.
I found, well, it does, but you know what? I think about this all the time. Never in a million years would I write that song today.
Yeah.
Because it does a lot of things that I would say, don't do that.
Yeah.
Don't jump perspective in a song.
Yeah.
Right? And so I got this incredible thing that before I knew anything about it.
Yep.
And if I knew what I know today, back when I wrote that song, I never would have written
Well,
that song.
thankfully you didn't.
I know.
Because,
Isn't that
some
I'm
of the
so
greatest
lucky.
songs in the history of music are written without the rules in mind.
Yeah.
The dance, we talked about it before
Yeah.
we recorded, doesn't have a bridge.
Yeah.
Right? The
Yeah.
song was completely, never saw the light of day for
Yeah.
ages and ages and ages until
Yeah.
Garth heard Tony play it at the Bluebird or
Yeah.
somewhere in Nashville. And Tony was just like, you like that?
Yeah.
It's not done yet.
Yeah.
He's like, no, it's done.
Oh, it's done.
Right? But there's no bridge. So sometimes the rules need to not be there.
Yeah.
And that's when the great songs come out. right?
Sure. Yeah.
I love that. So you talked about the Groobees.
Uh-huh.
Describe them to me.
The Groobees was kind of this collaboration between 5 people that had really different musical tastes. So I was really folky. and like picture the Lilith Fair lineup. That was my set list when
There
I
you
first
go.
started.
I'm okay with
singing.
that.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Well, before I started writing songs, I was playing covers, and I didn't have the imagination to listen to, John Lennon sing and think, yeah, I could sound like that. So like everything I listened to was women,
Yeah.
Which was great for me.
Yeah, that's
It was
okay.
awesome.
Yeah.
But that was
That's a great
was
era of
my-
women to listen to.
Yeah, it was.
Oh my gosh.
It really was.
Yeah.
I feel really lucky that's when I was learning to play guitar. Those women were out there.
Yeah, like Natalie Merchant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Sarah
Tracy
McLachlan.
Chapman, Sarah McLaughlin. Yeah, all
My
those
goodness.
guys.
God,
Sean Colvin.
Yes. Sonny came home.
Yeah. So back to the Groobees. Scott was really heavily Beatle influenced. Scott Malott was the other writer in the band. A lot of Beatles influence. Gary was such an alt country, like No Depression, Jayhawks, Wilco, all those guys. Todd was more of a rock drummer. So we had this kind of rock drum, not like a hair band rock, but just 4/4, nothing real jazzy or across the bar or anything like that. Just kind of straight, steady. We had a cool sound because I think none of us had the same influences, and so everybody kind of got to shine at different moments in different songs, and you'd say, oh, it kind of sounds like this, but kind of sounds like that, and I think that's why it worked was, we all had strengths to bring to the group, and we were greater than the sum of
It's
our
funny,
parts.
all the stuff I know about you and seen about you, I can't imagine you in a band.
Oh yeah. Oh, it was so fun. It was so fun, and you know what? It's so interesting. That dynamic is really interesting because when you're a solo artist, you're responsible for every noise, right? And so
If you suck, people will know.
And if you suck, people will know. And also, like I listened to some of those old, some of our first records, even the later ones, where, like in every break when I'm not singing lyrics, I'm going, yeah, ooh, no, or whatever, like I just cannot shut up,
Vocal solo.
Like, yeah, man. I mean, and I listen to it now and I think, why didn't Lloyd say, Susan, it's Gary's turn.
Knock
Shut
that
up.
shit off. He's trying to do
Yeah.
his guitar solo.
But yeah, then so that was a good education.
Yeah,
that
I
band
bet.
was a great education. Yeah.
I love that though because there's like uber confidence to stand up there alone because there's nowhere to hide.
Yeah.
Right. And so
Yeah.
like, just and I did listen to some of those songs, and it's such a different vibe
Yeah.
than what you're known for.
Yeah.
I love that. And that's why I wanted you to describe it yourself
yeah.
because I think people will get a kick out of knowing what you were
Yeah.
prior to the whole solo stuff. Check out the Groobees.
Yeah,
for
check
sure.
out the Groobees.
Yeah.
Here's what I will tell you, and you can listen for yourself, but I feel like in those records, you can really hear me trying to sing.
Yeah.
And hopefully, that's not what you hear anymore on my own records. You
No,
just hear me
absolutely
singing.
not. Yeah.
You just hear
The
me
delivery
singing.
is definitely different.
Yeah.
There's a maturation there.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, I love that. No problem. One of the biggest struggles of a singer-songwriter,
Mm-hmm.
especially in the 21st century, in my opinion, is the struggle or the balance between creativity and commercial. I imagine you've struggled with that over the course of your career.
I would say I have not. And I would say the reason why I have not is, I hope this comes out the way I intend it. Is that, I had this commercial success without even understanding what that meant.
Yeah.
Right? And I almost have this feeling of like, yeah, I did that. I had commercial success. It was awesome. It gave me more of everything than I could have imagined, right? More attention, more opportunity, more money, right?
Yeah.
More of everything than I would have even thought to ask for.
Did it give
right?
you more freedom?
Total freedom.
Yeah.
Total freedom. And I'll tell you, this is, so it's 98 is when the Chicks put that on their record. So here we are 28 years,
Yeah.
about 27 years away from that. And I am just now learning some things about myself and what I have done with that freedom that is pretty interesting. But also that I didn't have to choose between creative or commercial, right? I didn't have to make that choice because remember, I didn't know anything about writing songs. I didn't understand that the person that you're hearing on the radio in country music isn't the person that wrote that song. Because I was coming from the folk world.
Yeah.
Where the person that's playing the song probably wrote the song.
Right.
Right?
A lot of times.
And they probably drove themselves there.
Yeah, probably.
And they may have even designed the poster. You know? You know what I mean?
Totally indie.
Yeah, totally indie.
Yeah.
And so I didn't have this harsh division between commercial or creative.
I love that.
You know what I mean?
The freedom is so apparent in the hard stuff too, right? There's
Thank you.
so much to unpack with that album. So much. From the songs about your parents. Yeah. Right? There's I think there's 2 songs, one about each.
Yeah.
Antiques is about your dad.
Yeah.
I forget what's the name of the one about your mom?
8 by 10.
Yes, 8 by 10. Mm-hmm. And so those 2 songs alone, I don't imagine if that freedom didn't exist, you'd be able to do those kinds of songs.
Yeah, I don't know either. I don't know either. I know that having, Wide Open Spaces, having that song.
You can talk about it.
Well, like that, my biggest success came before I asked any of those questions of myself. Mm-hmm. Of, can I write about this? Will people like this? You know, is this going to get me a gig? Is this going to get me, laid? Whatever, you know. Mm-hmm. And so like early on, forged in my DNA was this idea as a songwriter, is this idea if you just try to write a true thing, like sometimes that will have a ripple effect.
Absolutely.
That is so big and so huge. So why don't you just write the true things that you know and the questions that you have. I did a Mary Gaucher songwriting workshop last spring, and she talks about that of are we writing for the industry or are we writing for truth and beauty? Mm-hmm. If we're writing for truth and beauty, then sky's the limit, baby. Yeah. If you're writing for the industry, well, we better get to the chorus within 30 seconds.
Exactly.
And we got to have a melodic hook and a rhythmic hook and a da-da-da.
And that's what I'm talking about with the freedom of that specific record.
I've never even considered that.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Do you long for another hit?
I mean, it would be awesome.
All right.
But no.
It doesn't keep you up at night?
No.
Yeah.
But for a minute, though, it did feel like it was like...
Was there pressure to back it up with another at first?
Yeah, I remember... well, it just felt like the soil is just tilled perfectly. Mm-hmm. Will you just plant a seed there and watch a redwood grow?
It's not how music works.
It isn't.
Yeah.
And so, I think following that song, there was, I had a bunch of co-writes in Nashville to go write with other people. We got courted by a publishing company, but they wanted Wide Open Spaces. Of course they did. Yeah. And when we were going to talk to those publishing companies, we were saying, let's start from here because that money is financing our band. Yep. And I'm not going to take it away from the band and give it to you for, to have a salary from you. We're going to bet on the band. And so, there was this idea of striking while the iron's hot, that felt very real.
All this industry speak that I hear you talking about.
Yeah. But then, day to day, I mean, I was still in that band, so we were going and playing our $200 gigs. Meanwhile, I'm
Make
getting
less
like
today, by the way.
yeah, totally,
Right?
yeah. It's that old. If you want to make a small fortune in the music business, you start with a large fortune.
Yeah. Yep.
You know, so
Songwriting is so unfair, and I'll try to explain. And I've said this before on the show, in that it's one of the only things in the world that once you become successful at it, you have to forget everything you did to become successful at it, because you can't write the same song a second time. So in order to replicate that success, you have to do completely different things than you did to get it in the first place.
Yeah.
That's very unfair.
Yeah.
Whereas if you want to be a successful painter, just be good at painting. If you want to be a successful mechanic, you just have to know how to fix the engine.
yeah,
You know, a successful salesman, you know what pitches to do, and you know what works and what doesn't.
yeah,
Songwriting's not that way. It's very unfair.
yeah.
You know?
Well, let's rephrase that, Boston, because you know,
Correct.
here, that's not why I was thinking that songwriting was unfair.
Okay.
Why I think it's a little skewed, let me say,
Okay.
is just because we have not caught up with the technology,
That's true.
right, to protect songwriters. And does that make sense?
Especially with AI now.
Especially
it's like
with
we
AI.
get caught up, and then something new comes along to, you know.
Yeah, I was talking with
push you
Betty
back.
Sue. I don't know if you know
I
Betty
love
Sue.
Betty Sue.
I do
Oh
too.
my gosh.
And she was talking about how there, and I didn't understand exactly what she was saying, so I probably shouldn't repeat it, but how for this certain AI platform or whatever, as a songwriter, you have to opt out for your material to not be used
Yes.
as ingredients for these AI songs
Right,
or
right.
whatever, instead of having it be set up to where you have to opt in if you want your stuff to be
Okay.
available to that.
Yeah.
Which is not fair,
Right.
because there's goons out there like me that don't even understand. They don't even know that that's what's happening.
Right.
You know, and you know, not like anybody's chasing nobody's trying to steal my
Well,
ideas.
but you never know, though, right?
Nobody's trying to steal my ideas.
Come on, somebody do that.
But you know, that's where I think it gets unfair.
Yeah.
I think everything else, and I'm coming from just speaking for myself. I'm not going to speak for the industry on anything, because that's the one thing that I've learned too, is there is not like a singular path to get through a creative life.
No.
There is a million right ways to do it, you know, and it doesn't follow a natural trajectory of what you just described, of like, okay, you get in and you get in there, you get the skill set,
Yeah.
and then you get promoted and you get transferred, and here's more responsibility, and now you got this title, and here's your benefit package, and
Yeah.
that reflects your time in the game.
Right.
And that isn't the way it works, I think, with any creative life.
It's true.
The thing I have to remind myself, because to have those kind of voices in my head, which I have them, that say, Susan, you've already written that song, get off it. You don't need another song about your dead mother. I have an album's worth of songs about my dead mother. It's something I think about her all the time.
Right.
All the time. I'm going to constipate myself if I don't write about those things that are going on with me. So the stuff that's happening in the world with politics, I have big feelings about that.
Me too.
I feel I can't express that. No wonder it's hard to write a song, because I've got this shit in my head, and I go to do this, and I think, oh, I can't say that. Uh-oh, I don't
Let me
want to
ask
say
you a
that.
question. You talked about imposter syndrome earlier,
Yeah.
but now you're talking about things that you're worried, maybe not worried, worried might be too strong a word, but maybe the word is aware. You're aware of how people are going to consume or react to your art once it's publicized.
Yeah.
How much of that is a struggle between that awareness and your imposter syndrome?
How much of that is a struggle between my awareness of that and my imposter syndrome?
So in other words, when you're sitting there talking about, whether or not I want to put a political statement out there.
Yeah.
Are you worried about the reaction to that, or is your imposter syndrome kind of telling you you don't want to do that?
I don't think it's my imposter syndrome. My imposter syndrome does not show up with my audience.
Of course not.
It shows up with my peers.
Really?
Yeah, like when I'm around a circle of
It's a
fucking
comparison thing.
Yeah,
Comparing
it
yourself.
is a uh-oh.
Yeah.
This guy actually knows how to really write songs.
Yeah.
He's gonna listen to this, and he's gonna say, wow, sounds like she quit on the third verse, or whatever
Yeah.
whatever that voice is.
Yeah.
Right? She's phoning in that
That's
chorus.
incredible stuff.
Right?
Yeah.
I don't have imposter syndrome with normal people.
Wow.
I'm a big star. No,
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. That's totally a joke. I'm just kidding.
It's just when she's in those rooms.
The whole thing about a political statement or not that is so scary is because my goal is to connect to people.
Right.
My goal, my ultimate mission statement for being a musician and traveling around and playing songs is to connect to people.
Yeah.
And right now, politics is dividing people.
Of course.
And it feels like really a dangerous thing.
And it
But I will tell you,
always-
I'm
yeah.
building courage because
I've seen it.
We're in trouble.
I know.
You know?
I've seen it. And I agree with you.
Yeah.
We're on the same page.
Yeah.
Man, Susan Gibson on the Boston Chris podcast. This is incredible stuff. I want to talk about something else, solo albums. So you've had 7 projects. Correct me if I'm wrong. You've had 7 projects.
Right.
And the first one was in 2002. That was called Chin Up.
Yep.
And the latest was 2019, which is called The Hard Stuff.
Yeah.
That's 17 years,
Yeah.
7 projects.
Yeah.
So now we're going to talk about evolution.
Okay.
So talk about how you've changed or progressed or matured through those processes between the 2002 and the 2019.
Okay, so one big one is 2002. I was making an ungodly amount of money in
Right.
royalties from the chicks,
Yeah.
and in the
And that's 4
context-
years later, mind you.
And that's 4 years later.
right.
Yeah, in the context of making an album, and every other problem I had in my life, I threw money at it because it was the only tool I felt I had, because I had no experience.
Right.
I didn't have that many connections with people, like
Mm-hmm.
to say, Betty Sue, do you have a graphic designer you like to use?
Mm.
Or, and I had no discernment. Like I wanted everything all the time.
Yeah.
And so if you listen to like my second record, which is called Outer Space, that we made in Houston, Jack Saunders, who is a brilliant musician and man, produced that record. And I have so much sympathy for that guy working with me back then.
Yeah.
Because he's a really talented guy making beautiful music. And the person that's signing the paycheck says, yeah, I want fiddle and pedal steel and a dobro and and that is just for this one sound.
One song.
Yep. Yeah. And he's having to balance this big dick wagging thing that I'm doing by making this huge record.
You just needed one Milo Daring. He plays all of those things.
I know. Well, and it's not even the money though.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, where did that song go? It's buried under 36 tracks
Right.
of oohs and ahs.
It's so funny. I have a
Right?
question about that on my outline.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so funny you say that.
So that is one thing that I hopefully have evolved past.
Yeah.
Is to, when I hire a producer, like with the hard stuff, I recorded my tracks, playing the guitar and singing the part, and then I left and went on tour. That whole album, Andre Moran did that, made every decision, and then he'd send me things to listen to, and I'd be like, ooh, I like that, or there's something about that bass line that feels like it's distracting me from
So it sounds
whatever.
like one thing you learned was distance.
Like, take your hands off of
Yeah,
it.
I love that.
That's
great.
Hire good
Trust
people.
and distance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're hiring someone to produce the record, then let them do it.
Let him produce it.
If you're hiring someone to design your T-shirt, let them do
Let
it.
him do it.
Quit getting in
My
there.
wife says all the time, "You're the artist."
Yeah. Yeah.
We'll go to a restaurant and the waiter will say, "What do you want?" And she'll say, "You're the artist. You tell me what do I want."
Yeah.
Just everywhere.
Yeah.
Jeez, I've learned so much from my wife. It's
Yeah, that's
ridiculous.
great.
Instrumentation. This is on my list. It's
Okay.
part of the evolution question. It's the very next one in line after the one about the 2000 to the 2019. How do you decide what instruments to use to kind of send your message better?
If I'm thinking of a live context, I have a couple of side people that I like for playing an acoustic lead player or even an electric lead player or a violin. As far as records go, I think, so I made a record with Gabe Rhodes called Tightrope that is really stripped down and sparse. And
Yes.
it's really basically me and Gabe. I think we hired a drummer for one thing or
It's
nothing.
great. Great.
Thank you. But it's just really, there's a couple of instruments on every song. It's made to kind of be like, this is a little bit like what Susan sounds like live. Whereas those other ones are a little bit more glamour shot.
Is that
rather
important
than,
to you? Sounding like you do live in a studio environment?
Yeah.
Because
it is.
replication's important, right?
Yeah, but I abandoned that for hard stuff.
Yeah.
Like I've never had a clarinet player come
Yeah.
with me, and there's a clarinet part on that song, on one of those songs,
Yeah.
and there's a horn section on one of those songs. You
So
know, and there's
who's deciding that?
Andre.
Andre decided.
Well, I'll tell you, I had the song, the hard stuff, and I thought if I'm gonna have a horn section, this is the song it's gonna be on.
Yeah.
This just lends itself to that, and I've always wanted to have a horn section.
That's so cool.
Just cause.
One of
It
those
is
things
cool.
that's just say you did it.
Yeah, it's
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
like wanting a Harley Davidson or something. Like, there's no real point, but it's cool to have. you
Talk
know?
about the role of the banjo. in
I
your- in
love
your
the
song.
banjo. So I started playing the banjo in the Groobees.
Yeah.
And I always think the banjo is an easy instrument to get okay at and a really hard instrument to get really good at. And so I'm okay at the banjo, but I love it so much. And it has a different texture to it. I think that it has an inherent smile, right? There's something that when someone sees a banjo,
It's hard to be sad with a
it's
banjo,
hard to be
yeah.
sad. And if you notice, the songs that I've written on a banjo are 8x10, the one about missing my mom,
Which is
and
sad.
Chin Up,
It's so
which
funny.
is a song about failing the presidential fitness test.
Mm-hmm.
Which to play that in a serious manner would be so depressing.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And when I play, like if I don't take my banjo in and I play 8x10 on the guitar, it's different. It
Yeah.
is so much more melancholy. With the banjo, it's like, you know,
That's
I never thought to ask
that's a
you
cool
why.
way of looking at it.
Yeah.
Like, just because that was why I wanted to talk about the banjo was because of 8x10.
Uh-huh.
Because like, oh man, so I talked to somebody once about. Oh, it was Robert Ellis Oral who wrote a bunch of songs for Taylor Swift, but he has this tendency of writing sad songs in a happy way.
Uh-huh.
And I've never seen anything like it.
Yeah.
Like the lyrics would be so depressing and melancholy, and the melody would be so uplifting.
Yeah.
And I'm just like,
It's great camouflage.
it's like, why would you do this? He
Yeah.
was like, are you asking me about it?
Yeah.
And I said, well, yeah. He goes, that's why I did it. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Great answer.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, like he'll have these depressing songs and uplifting melody, and like the music video will be like Chip and Dale, you know, like playing with an acorn or something. I'm just like, I love you. And that's why I love chatting with songwriters,
Yeah.
because everybody has their way,
Yeah.
and it's never the same way,
Yeah, that's right.
you know. Song coaching is also important to you.
Yeah.
Very, very important to you.
Yeah.
So that mentorship must come from your mom, right? You want to pass it down.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. And I think that songwriting is such a solitary thing most of the time that, and I tell this to everybody that I work with, nothing's going to teach you about writing songs like writing songs.
Yep.
But also, it's good to have, I mean, a lot of times when I'm doing song coaching, all it is listening with a little bit of a skill set of writing songs to say, hey, you know what? I think your second verse here is stronger as a first verse. And you know what, Boston? In January, I hired myself a songwriting coach. And I'm working with this guy named Darden Smith now.
Okay.
And he's doing
Heard
that
that
for me.
name.
You have heard that
Yeah.
name. He's great. Google him.
I will.
He's great. And it has been so helpful. He has disarmed every excuse I've had for not writing songs.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And that's really powerful.
That is powerful.
You know?
I love
Yeah.
that you have the confidence as a song teacher to get a song teacher.
You know what? It's kind of started with going to Mary Gaucher's workshop.
Yeah.
And it is so enlightening to listen to someone else talk about their process.
Yeah.
I think that's the only thing I really love about co-writing songs. Because I've co-written a little bit. I only have a handful of songs of co-writes that
Right.
I actually play.
Yeah.
I have a lot of co-writes sitting around that I don't play because I don't love the song, but I do love the experience of getting to sit with another person and see, well, this is how they do it.
Are you sponging?
Yeah, does that mean like just trying to absorb whatever?
Yeah, take it in.
Yeah,
learn.
Yes, but when I was doing those co-writing things right after, like in the late '90s, early 2000s, I thought I had to bring it, and I missed a lot of opportunities of just learning from people by thinking that I had something I needed to show them something. Yeah, right.
That's gonna be
tough. I didn't
tough.
have anything to show. Yeah,
that's gonna be really tough. Guys, we're here with Susan Gibson, and this is episode 56.
We're here with Susan Gibson, and she won't shut up.
This is perfect. That's what, honestly, that's what the name of the show should be. Don't shut up. All right, guys, so we're going to be right back after this commercial with some fun segments with Susan. You don't want to go anywhere.
I'm putting it together right now, and I'd love to get it out that any student, I don't care how old you are or what, if your heart lies within this kind of domain of the sound, playing, any of that, I'm gonna start taking one day out of every couple of weeks and invite students in for a very small charge, and I will tell you whatever you want. Any question you got, I'll try to answer it.
Well, I will certainly put that out there. I'll make this a little ad for you, and we can share it everywhere.
They'll have full access to the studio. Everything, I can tell them everything about how all of this started from analog into the digital world, and you'll be able to have hands-on, and I'll show you why analog sounds better than digital.
Amazing. Yeah, I'll definitely cut this out. I'll make a little ad out of it, and we can share it everywhere.
That's awesome.
Absolutely.
Because I'd love to do it. That's my legacy, is to leave.
It's pass it down, right?
Yeah.
I mean. All right, we are back, and we're going to talk to Susan about the second song that she's going to play tonight. It's called Evergreen, direct from the Forestry education.
Yep.
The botanist. Tell us about the song.
So I wrote that with a guy named, speaking of co-writes, I wrote that with a guy named Michael Hearn.
Okay.
And it was after, I think, the second time that I'd gotten to do the barn dance.
Okay.
I'd met Michael at a Larry Joe Taylor thing, and then got to play his barn dance. And then the second time I went back, we hung out in Taos for a little while and went over to his house, and we were like, hey, let's write a song. So we were sitting there in his backyard, and his barn dance is the second Saturday in September, I think.
Yeah, it's like late summer.
Yeah. And so just beautiful. And we're sitting there watching, just watching autumn happen. And we just started talking about change and the resistance to change and the embracing of change. And I don't know how, I cannot envision how we started that song. We had a third gal there. Her name was Monica Smart. And I think she was Michael's girlfriend at the time. And she really kind of helped us stay focused. Michael and I would be like, well, we wrote 2 lines. Let's go make a sandwich, And she kind of helped us.
I love the
stay
wordplay
focused.
in this song.
Oh, thank you.
The multiple meanings of things,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing in songwriting. And anyways, we're excited to present the song to you guys right here from the Bowery stage in Winsboro. It's Susan Gibson. It's Evergreen. Y'all check it out.
Just when I think I'm gone, something brings me back. As my train of thought slips off the track, feeling my way through crossways and blinds. I guess it's what you seek, not what you find. I don't mind things that don't matter these days. Time I've spent on worry never pays. Leaves are changing from green to gold, so I'll change with them. I'll be so bold. In vivid colored dreams, nothing's what it seems. I've turned inside out and back again, but I'm stuck out on this limb, dancing with the wind. How I long to be like an old dust devil chasing round a tumbleweed. I tried to lay down roots so I could just stay there. I blew out my candle and prayed a little prayer. Now I don't mind things that don't matter these days. Time I spent on worry never pays. Leaves are changing from green to gold, so I'll change with them. I'll be so bold. In vivid colored dreams, nothing's what it seems. I've turned inside out, then back again. But I'm stuck out on this limb, dancing with the wind. How I long to be evergreen. I really can't complain. I've enjoyed the ride. Just 'cause I'm running doesn't mean I'm hiding. But this wanderlust, it puts me off the map. I follow my heart till it brought me back. But I don't mind things that don't matter these days. Time I spent on worry never pays. Leaves are changing from green to gold, so I'll change with them. I'll be so bold. In vivid colored dreams, nothing's what it seems. I've turned inside out, then back again. But I'm stuck out on this limb, dancing with the wind. How I long to be evergreen. How I long to be evergreen. Evergreen.
All right, so we are back, and I know everybody's waiting for this. I know I am. I love these segments. We have like 5 or 6 quick segments I
Okay.
think you'll have some fun with.
Okay.
And I'll tell you kind of how to do these.
Okay.
I want you to shut your filter off, though, okay? So whatever pops into your brain is what has to come out.
Okay.
This could be dangerous.
Okay.
All right, so the first one is called Mount Rushmore.
Okay.
And so just like the in real life Mount Rushmore, there's 4 people on it.
Yep.
So this is Mount Rushmore of songwriters. Who would be
Okay.
on that for Susan Gibson?
It would be Sean Colvin, Drew Kennedy, Sean Colvin. It might be 2 Sean Colvins and 2 Drew Kennedys.
Really? Nobody else gets up there.
Well, I might put myself up there.
I love that.
No, it would be Sean
You're going to
Colvin,
take up the other 2 spots.
Drew Kennedy.
Just put your arms out.
Yeah. I mean, I'm kind of wide.
Just trying to
so I
save
would
money.
just
I know
take
what's
this-
going on.
Yeah. Sean Colvin, Drew Kennedy. You know, Walt Wilkins would be one of those.
Yeah.
Brandy Carlisle.
Okay. Wow. Killer. All right. Next one's called What the Heck.
Okay.
So these are rapid fire. I'm just going to ask you some questions.
Okay.
And whatever comes to mind. All right. Number 1, do you think pyromaniacs wear blazers?
Yes.
Okay. If one synchronized swimmer drowns, what happens to the
They
rest
all
of them?
drown.
They all do.
I mean,
Otherwise,
if they're any good.
yeah. Otherwise they failed.
Yeah. Otherwise,
agree.
they're not synchronized.
Completely agree. Have you ever lost your glasses while they were still on your head?
Yes, I have.
Have you ever searched for your cell phone with your cell phone's flashlight?
Yes, I have. Wow.
Have you ever called your lost cell phone from your cell phone?
No, I have not done that.
All right. How long do you wait after finishing your food before going back for seconds?
I have been known to go for seconds with food still on my plate.
I am that person. Why do you think McDonald's doesn't serve hot dogs?
I don't have any idea. I've never thought about it, but why not?
Yeah.
Is there an answer to that?
I mean, it's a marketing brilliant strategy. McWieners.
Yeah, totally.
I would be on it.
Absolutely.
Well, not literally. But
Well, I mean, what made you think of that question?
podcasting.
Okay.
Have you ever tripped on stage? And if so, how did you play it off as cool?
I have. Yes, I have. I have tripped on stage, and the way I play it off is cool is to go, whoa! Wow, did you guys see that? I just tripped on stage.
Nobody saw it.
Yeah.
Nobody saw that. That's when you act like you're calling for the waiter or something. I would like no ice. No ice. All right, last one on this one. If you could go back in history to witness anything, what would it be?
I would go back and see my mom as a little kid.
I love that. Would she know it was you?
No. No, I don't know. Maybe.
All right.
Yeah.
Great answer. All right, next one's called One Artist.
Okay.
I love this because hopefully I learn about new people.
Okay.
So who is one artist that you wish the whole world knew about? And you can't name yourself.
Jana Pokop.
Okay?
Jana Pokop is a gal that I met her right after the Groobees broke up. And she ended up working with me for a long time, like selling my t-shirts, and she booked gigs for me, and she did all this stuff. But all this time, she's been a brilliant songwriter.
Okay.
And she's one of those good at everything she tries kind of people. And so I think she's become kind of known in our circle as the social media person or the techie person or the whatever. But she writes these great songs that are just so smart.
Cool.
And yeah.
Nice.
Pochop, Jana Pokop.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right, awesome. So next one's called Wishlist.
Okay. So yeah, these are supposed to be short answers. Okay.
No, they don't have to be short.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Wishlist is basically something you wish you could do, a goal. Whether it's a
goal.
co-write with someone or opening for someone, sharing the stage with someone, a venue you haven't played, something in that sphere.
Oh man.
Something you wish you could do.
Something I wish I could do. Is it bad? I mean, I think that's why I struggle with this being a plan.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't necessarily have goals for this thing. Let me think though. Let me try to come up with some goals. I wish I could learn to fix my own car.
There you go.
Does that track?
Yeah, that'll work.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good
I wish I
wish
had
list.
complete self-sufficiency when it came to my vehicles.
Good luck with that.
Yeah,
The oil's full, I'm sure.
yeah.
Dad made sure of that.
totally.
Yeah. All right, next one is called Personal Best.
Okay,
So, as a fan of yours, I would say that some of your personal best accomplishments
okay,
are CMA Single of the Year,
okay,
BMA Songwriter of the Year,
okay.
2009 West Texas Music Hall of Fame inductee.
Yeah, that's true.
But for you, what do you think was your personal best accomplishment? And it doesn't have to be music related.
My best personal accomplishment. With no filters. You want to know what came to my mind?
Yeah, absolutely.
So yesterday we were with Jen's mom. They were celebrating her at her senior living center, and her mom wrote a musical to talk about her life. And so I played Glenda the musical. She had picked out songs that she wanted in there, and then I played a set for an hour for her friends at this senior living center.
Awesome.
And they have a memory care unit. And this gal, Elaine, came out from the memory care center, and she sat in the chair that I was supposed to be sitting in, so she was right there. And she was grooving on it. She loved it. And she got up and danced with her walker and kicked her legs out to the side of her walker and was dancing. And I loved being a part of that. That's my most
Fulfilling.
recent best accomplishment. That kind of, like, I don't know what memory care, that's a big deal.
Absolutely.
She freaking told me her name.
You were
and-
there.
And I was there, and we had moments together. It was great.
Memories.
Yeah.
Love that. All right, last one is called Who Do You Think You Are?
Okay.
See, there's the rustler that just came up. Who do you think you are? Who is Susan Gibson?
Well, hopefully, I am a good friend and a gentle human and someone that can be a spoonful of sugar to help the medicine go down. That's what I hope.
Great.
Yeah.
So 2025 just arrived. What's on the agenda for you in the future?
This year is about writing. This year is about putting up some good boundaries to protect time and space for writing songs, because I haven't done that in a long time.
Yeah.
I've just kind of said, well, it'll happen when it'll happen, and it hasn't been happening. And so 2025 is about trying new things. Like, you know, I'm such a driver. I love driving. I love road tripping. That's where this conversation started. But I have had a couple gigs. Next week I will fly to Nashville to do some co-writing. The beginning of April I will fly to Minnesota to do a gig in my first hometown, Fridley.
I love that.
Yeah. And so it's about saying,
It's
yeah,
circular, isn't it?
I will, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, 2025 is about not getting stuck in the stories I tell myself about what my life is and who I am, and trying new things, but all geared towards the writing.
I love that.
Yeah.
So where can people follow the journey? How can people support you the best?
Well, for $2,000, you can come in the van and travel with me.
Okay. I'll start
But other
saving.
than that, you can.
Is that an American dollars?
SusanGibson.com. Yeah.
Okay.
That is. Well, we'll see. We'll see what happens with our economy.
All right.
Might be Bitcoin or something like that.
I don't know.
It will SusanGibson.com. I've been trying to get active on Instagram. I do Facebook every once in a while. I don't mess with any.
It's hard, isn't it?
I don't. Yeah, I'm a TikTok voyeur. I look at it a lot, but I haven't posted anything up there.
Yeah.
And
Well, you'll have to repost all the stuff that comes from this.
yeah,
I use
are you on TikTok?
Oh, I use it a lot. You'll
Okay,
see.
okay.
You're gonna get tired of me.
Good.
I tag everything.
Oh, good.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Well, maybe I'll learn something
Maybe.
by looking at your
Yeah,
thing.
maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, we could help each other.
Yeah, I hope so.
So it's SusanGibson.com.
Yep.
And I will make sure that's in the description below.
Okay.
And so everybody can follow you there. I know there's a merch store in there. I've been looking at that, and people can buy all 7 records. I think are on there.
You know what? I gotta address that. I am out of a couple of copies. I would shoot an email
Okay.
to me through my website.
All right.
If you're interested in something, I'm in charge of my own website maintenance now, and yeah, in charge of website maintenance. So I'm working on it, but I wouldn't send any money until we actually have a
Playing
conversation
the music
about
is
if
the
there's-
easy part.
Yeah,
That's what she's saying.
like, yeah. If you want a T-shirt, it's probably going to be an extra small or a 4X because all the sizes in the middle
So
are.
true.
Yeah.
So true. That's why I stay big. I get free T-shirts.
There you go. There you go.
It's so
Get all the
true,
ones
though.
that are-
Extra
yeah.
small or 4X. The definition of the music business right there in a
Yeah.
nutshell. Oh, man. Thank you so much for being my guest.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, for
I
sure.
appreciate it.
Hey, this is Helene Cronin. Thanks so much for tuning in to the Boston Chris Show.